What's going on, guys? Tempo Trade. In today's video, we're going to be going over some of my November setups where I actually made a $10,000 payout with Top Step, and I made a $7,500 payout with Bull Knock. So over 5 figures in payouts for that month. I'm going to go over the trades, why I took them, and hopefully you learned something. Okay, guys, the first setup we are going to go over is the data play. So if you don't know, the data play is my highest win rate entry model for ICT. Okay, essentially every week we have economic data, right? Consumer confidence, consumer sentiment, PPI, CPI. We have the government releases this stuff and the market reacts very, very violently a lot of the time. Okay, there's a lot of buyers and sellers at these areas, and it creates this very crazy looking data candle, as you could see on screen at 8:30. It's just a very, very large candle with a really crazy bottom wick, right? So the idea is that because there's so much volume, because there's so much volatility at these areas, price is going to want to take out both sides. So what I do is I wait for one side to get swept, and then I look for an entry model targeting the other side, right? This could be an IFVG, an order block, a fair value gap, anything. For me, I stick to IFVGs. That's my bread and butter. That's what I know. So in this example, once the top side got swept, I knew I wanted to take shorts. I waited for this 3-minute inverted fair value gap to close under and targeted the data low. The only thing I would say for this setup is this fair value gap is very, very small. Ideally, I would like my fair value gaps to be 8 to 15 points in that range. This looks like to be only 3 or 4. So that is going to lower the consistency of the setup. But, you know, in this specific scenario, I just liked it enough and I took it, I guess. So you could see my execution. Here's me in the play. And yeah, starting off November with a win here. Okay, second setup is a classic high time frame sweep reversal. So if you don't know, my strategy is essentially I look for high time frame liquidity to sweep. So hourly highs and lows, 4-hour highs and lows, overnight highs and lows. We're talking about Asia and London. Previous day high and low. I'm essentially waiting for one of those areas to get taken, and then often you'll see a violent reaction / reversal, and I pair that with the IFVG entry model to precisely, you know, capture these reversal moves. So you can see right here, I annotated, we swept 4-hour lows to the left. That's what was the main confluence for this trade. I marked out this 3-minute fair value gap. I waited for price to inverse it. I entered long once it inversed, and then I'm pretty much just holding, targeting the opposing range or, you know, opposing sides of liquidity. So you can see on this one, I called this out before it even happened, before it even developed. So very, very nice trade here. And this is what a lot of my trades are going to look like. Okay, as we're moving on to the second trade, I made the lighting a little bit better, so if you notice that, but this was in November when my 28-day win streak came to an end. And as I'm recording this, I'm on a 38-day win streak, so I broke that. But I want to go over these setups and kind of, you know, talk about this thing. You know, the model will fail and I do take losses, but it's so consistent that at the end of the month, my winners are bigger than my losers. My risk to reward is really good, and I've been profitable every single month. So let's go over some losing trades here. The first trade is a very classic high a day sweep. Again, this is a major area of liquidity. A lot of the time price is going to sweep that area and then reverse to the other side of the range. So in this instance, it looks like price swept, was waiting for that IFVG. I chose this one. And then as soon as it closed under, it went right back up and stopped me out. So this does look like a really good loss, and I would take it, honestly, if this one happened tomorrow. So this one I tried looking at for a little bit, but I can't figure out the confluences because I didn't make any annotations here. But if there was no SMT, or if there was no major liquidity sweep at the top here, this is probably a pretty subpar trade, just entering off of a random IFVG with no context. Again, I would have to look back to November and see what I was thinking at this point in time. But the first trade is much, much better, and I would need more context to accurately judge this one. Okay, moving on to the next trade. This is a classic overnight sweep reversal. So we have our London high, which is the red line. We have our Asia high, which is the blue line. I decided to wait once London swept, and I waited for Asia to sweep as well. Once they both swept, I'm now looking for a reversal. So I mark out this 1-minute IFVG right here. I wait for it to close under. I go short, and then I'm just targeting these swing points at the bottom of the range. So, you know, some people might have gone short once London swept and not waited for Asia. For me, it's kind of a feel thing. Do I like the momentum? Do I like the movement? For whatever reason, on November 12th, on this day, I decided not to take the first short and wait for the second. And it looks like, you know, it played out really, really well for me. Okay, next trade is November 19th, and this is actually the longest or the biggest trade I've ever taken until this day. So essentially, I waited for the London sweep, which is the red line. I also waited for the previous day low sweep. That's another area of liquidity that I look for, right? If it's Tuesday and you have Monday's low and Monday's high, the lowest and highest points you put in, once those areas get taken, you're also going to see that reaction and that reversal pattern we look for. So this is actually a very rare instance where I took a pre-market setup. I try to limit my pre-market setups because I find them to be less consistent and reliable than the New York session. But I guess this just won't look too good to pass up because I take it at around 9 a.m. and I rode this thing up 250 points. You can see the screenshot when I first got in the trade here at 435 was my fill. So absolutely at the bottom, and I rode this thing up all the way to the highs. To this day, one of the biggest trades I've ever taken, man. Okay, so here's another trade. This is an example of an SMT. So on the right side of the screen, you have ES. On the left side, you have NQ, okay? Now, ES sweeps low of day, as you can see the annotation, while NQ doesn't, right? So that means there's a bullish SMT and that the market could potentially be going higher. What I do is I wait for an IFVG on NQ, I go long off of that, and I'm pretty much just targeting the swing highs at the top. And then you can even see my executions here. I took 15 micros, trimmed 12 at these highs and held 3. And that's another thing. SMT is really, really strong. If you don't know what SMT is, I have a video on my channel that you can go look at that. Very strong ICT tool that I use to find trades. But this was a simple one, went about 70 points and made a lot of money. All right, here. This is one of the best setups I have ever taken, guys. I think I have gone over this on my YouTube channel before, but we're just going to talk about it one more time. To this day, this is one of the best IFVG setups, or one of my favorites I've ever taken, because you're combining the overnight sweep with the data play. If you can see on the bottom, it says London sweep. So we have London low, which is the red line, that gets taken. You would normally look for a reversal. On top of that, you also have a data wick. You see this huge, ginormous black candle. This happened at 8:30, which is a data news event. So you would also be waiting for the bottom to sweep and then targeting the high. So you have two super strong confluences telling you that the market should reverse here to go to the top side. So I use this IFVG entry model to get in, and I'm just targeting that data high, and it worked perfectly. This is an A+++ setup. Guys, last setup we're going to go through for this video, again, just another classic London and Asia sweep. I've made so much money trading these levels. It's not even funny, man. It is so reliable. Go back test it for yourself. But essentially, I just wait for these areas to sweep. It actually looks like I took this during Asia, which is extremely rare. I probably take one Asia trade a month, but I waited for London and Asia to sweep, took the IFVG. Once it inversed, I went long, and then I just rode it to these highs. Here were my executions. So it looks like I went very light because it was Asia. I don't usually trade this session. I went 8 micros, and then I trimmed 5, trimmed 2, trimmed 1, and in total, this went up, it looks like it went up about 50 points, which is really good for Asia. All right, guys, that was the month of November and how my trades went. A lot of winning, some losses, but overall a green month, made over 5 figures, and I'm sharing the setups with you. So if you have any questions about any of these, let me know what you think. Study them. You know, the win rate, the model is very, very consistent. I kind of range from about a 75 to 80% win rate. It just depends on the week or the day. So thank you so much for watching. See you on the next one. Peace.